We are going to read an article, and this article, actually there's two of them. One is for principals and one is specific to coaches. We're going to pass these out to you, so make sure you get the one that you need, and we'll give you guys a few minutes to read. I'm going to put up the guiding questions, but I want you guys to take a break as you wrap up your reading. The questions that I want you to think about: how does this work connect to me, my role, my job, my school, my location, and some of the things that you want to remember, things you want to avoid, and a connection to Rural Connect. All right, as requested, we are going to give you guys some time to talk. So talk about your role. Talk about the article, the things that you want to remember, things to avoid, any connections you've made. I know you may not have gotten all the way through it. That's okay. Hopefully you found some nuggets to remember and to implement when you go back. So talk as a team, talk as a table, and just have some conversations. We'll give you guys about 5 minutes to have that talk.
We know we didn't give you ample time to read and discuss, but I was telling Renee, and Renee and I, and Lindsay as well, I mean, we were coaches for a long time, and the time to sit with my administrator and talk about, action planning for the school was always time well spent. So we want to always put some research in front of you, give you a chance to talk together, because that's where the power comes from, where you can sit together as a leadership team and think about your next steps. So based on that, we want to give you some time today in our last few minutes together to do some action planning as a school team. And if your administrator's not here or your coach is not here, you can maybe tag up with another partner from another district and have some conversations as well. Of course, this is you from our previous session, and you gave us some feedback and you said, we value that time. We need some time to think about next steps. Now, we do want to remind you, we've put a lot of things in front of you today, and we will be bringing your teachers back together. So I know you're excited about going and sharing all the things, but if you will protect the content for us until after session 2, that would be really helpful for our upcoming sessions. But we're going to have a little bit of structured action planning this afternoon. So we're going to give you some guiding questions, and we want you to talk as a school team, and then we're going to give you just a little bit of time. Jot down some notes, maybe on the inside of your folder if you brought your participant guide today from the summer, or if you have a notebook where you're taking notes. Jot down what those next steps are. And we want to have a little bit of share out again. I know there were some stories we missed this morning. And so if there's something that you would be willing to share with the group that you are planning to do, that someone else may want to steal and jot down in their action planning. So we're going to take 2 questions at a time and do some table talk and then some share out. So your first 2 questions are to think back to this morning. What are your next steps for releasing data? And your second question is, what evidence of teacher growth have you seen in planning? What supports do your teachers need moving forward? So this afternoon, we really looked at some of those instructional practices. What are the next steps there? So we're going to be quiet, give you about 5 minutes, and then we'll do some share outs on that one, and we'll put up your next set of questions. Questions for us? All right. Take time to talk. All right, the chatter level just kind of died, so I'm going to just go ahead and bring you back. We do want to hear, we want to do a share out here. So would anybody be willing to share, maybe someone who hasn't shared today, what are your next steps for the data? And what are your next steps to keep your teachers moving forward? Would anybody willing to share? Swanee? We got a couple of Swanee tables? You do have to get the data first, but you've already done some things with the data already.
And right now, we could go back and see, because K through 2 star, they took star level to your star, we can see like how many kids are above 50 percentile at this time to make a projection, and then also look at the levels and see how many points they need to gain up and see if we're really moving the information.
Else? Grand ideas over the data next steps?
We are meeting with our teams on Thursday. We just came out of district progress monitoring Tuesday about that data. And so we've given them some homework to bring to the meeting this Thursday. We wanted to really look at the historical stuff they have from K-12, their FAFSA, and we wanted to kind of have a target group of those high level 2 who moved to that level 3 by Camp 2. So,
And Jake, we're not stealing your idea, buddy. We just.
I've never had an original idea.
So we're having them like really focused on like 10 kids, like how do we get those 10 kids to move through. So they're having to come in with like a reflection piece and a plan. The plan is actually another thing we've done like 6 weeks of testing. So how are we going to do this kids?
So that's our data piece. The other piece that we've been talking about is we've had probably 2 meetings with our participants for Rural Connect. I've gone in and did an observation on them. We had specific things we were looking for. Now we're going to go back from doing this. We realize which ones are the sporadic uses. So now we're going to go back and I'm going to have Rebecca go in as well and do some observations talking about those. These are the ones we realize that we need to focus on, which is the 2.1, 3.1, and 4.1, with not just saying you're doing what are you really doing with it, and then having some follow-up conversations, or I'll even go back to them after that. After there's some deliberate coaching, this is what we're looking for, and then I'll do the delivery. So that's kind of our plan.
All right, let's have a couple more questions for you to think about. So what is important to include on your next cadre meeting? Okay, thinking about your next agenda, what are you going to put on there? And administrators, your plus is the same every time to do walkthroughs and to submit your cadre agendas. So it just kind of gives you a head start on that. And then Marcy just kind of touched on this, but what are your look-fors in your next round of walkthroughs? So take about 5 minutes and then we'll do some share out.
High quality writing.
All right, let me bring you guys back together. Someone share some ideas with us. What is your focus for your next cadre meeting and your walkthroughs and/or? You don't have to tell us about both, but share what you're thinking and how you're going to move forward.
We've talked a lot about the different protocols that were being used. Which ones are you having difficulty with, or any you would like them to be modeled, that kind of stuff. But we haven't included the data that we've collected from the walkthroughs. We've shared them individually, but doing this stood out. Like I could quickly go through and say, oh, we saw this every time, but didn't see every time. It's very clear.
Yes.
Just putting that up, because we share walkthrough data all the time, but not from that tool. So it wouldn't take long to populate into it.
Nice, nice. Yeah, so you're thinking specifically about the EE data. I heard that in the back too. Didn't y'all talk about EE data? Yes, and choosing one to do some walkthroughs around. Nice. Anything else? Different ideas? Kevin, you got something? You look like you got something. What'd y'all talk about?
Yeah, so for our next look for us, because I feel like we do a pretty good job with the instructional strategies. Also, I think we just got to start looking for like what questions are being asked.
Yeah.
Just so we can see if we're targeting those level 4s and 5s, and we're not just staying at
Oh, nice. Nice. That also is a nice tie into the planning side of it, because what you see is going to inform where you go with some professional learning. Very nice. Yeah, Lindsay and I did a training last year on corrective feedback, and one of the really nice takeaways that I don't think I'd ever really even considered before is it is just the thing that moves the kid one more step forward. So it's not, it doesn't always look like a you're right or you're not quite there. It can just be a question that prompts them to go one further step down the road. So it can just be a nice thing to capture those statements and assess, is this what we want? Did this work? How effective was that?
And so today's article, whenever you said, oh, let's, look at the forest, can we see the forest for the trees, or we zoom right in? That's like where I'm at.
Yeah.
Zoom back out and see the forest for the trees. So.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Yeah, thank you for sharing. All right, one more step. How are you going to upscale this work? For the people who didn't participate in SLI, some of you are already doing this. How are you doing it? What are your next steps with that? And anything else that's on your mind to talk about from today and where you want to go with some strategic actions. So take a few minutes to chat about that. We have the sample items, but we don't have actual released tests.
Because I don't think
For
STAR
STAR.
releases them like FAST does. You know what I'm saying? Like this year it was in legislation that third grade would be released, and so we have third grade, but STAR is owned by
Renaissance.
Renaissance. So the samples would be all that we have.
And what we have been trying to do is make connections between FAST, the third grade questions, and which ones align nicely with the second grade benchmarks. It's where the kids are going. It is just a great alignment with that benchmark. And so you might want them to just think forward. Let's think about third grade. Where are we going?
And we will do some in the kindergarten session, because Lindsay and I are doing kindergarten. We take some of the third grade samples, and then we just make them more kindergarten appropriate, because there's definitely opportunities,
And some of the
Like that
samples aren't
swimming-
bad.
So that swimming and Nemo example that you saw earlier, so we're going to be using that book Swimming in the kindergarten session. Well, that was developed in response to that third grade released item. But kindergartners can do that. Yes. And then like in first and second, we're doing one with Helen Keller, with Helen and Ann Sullivan. So that gives you, you've got kindergarten teachers working in that direction, first and second working in that direction. So there's a lot of ways that we can use those released items to help to build those, even at the lower levels.
And we have started every Wednesday planning, but I'd love to take it to that next level, like you showed that example with swimming. We're on the right track. We've never done that before, where we're committed every single Wednesday. Everybody gets together, and each teacher, 2 teachers facilitate it in someone else's classroom. So they get to see the classroom environment. They get to, and they're like, this is what we're all doing this week. We're doing this, this, and this. But we need to take it just a little step forward with that.
The thing that I think you have to have them be careful of is it's beyond just creating the matched question.
Right.
Because just because we create it doesn't mean that the kids will be successful.
Right.
Like, what do we have to do before
Right.
matters. Like the
Right.
kids have done I'm using the Swimmy Nemo example. They did a placemat, and then they went to the text and they did the what was the comprehension? Oh, they did a retelling.
Oh, yeah.
Of, and
The
some
beginning, middle, end.
like
There's lots of steps
there's
to get to that product.
But I love
That's what
it.
we work on.
Yeah.
We work on the, like, and I'm gonna make placemats.
Yeah.
Significant sentences, that everybody has significant sentences where they're, finding all the
Because
wow words
if we're
and they're-
doing all that work and we're giving a sample items, these kids are going to really start to make gains.
Will you share that of how you're having them, and this is your second year,
Yes.
because you had teachers come in,
Yes.
so a lot of your faculty has been trained, but
Most
still,
of
you
them,
probably
yes.
have some that haven't, but how you're having, committing time for them to work together. Yeah, that'd be great.
Article, and then they're facilitating it, which is great.
Yeah,
That too. Say
that's
that.
powerful.
Say that. It doesn't always have to be the coach.
I love it.
Right.
For us.
Well, they don't want
Or
to
you.
listen to us. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, I'm gonna let you share.
Yeah.
All right, let me bring you back. So we want to hear some great ideas for upscaling. And I kind of tagged Bonnie because Renee and I were standing there talking to her. She has a great idea for upscaling. So Bonnie, will you share?
Sure. So this is our second year. We were in the summer literacy, not this past summer, but the summer before. So the majority of our teachers have been through the Institute, which has been wonderful. Every Wednesday, we meet as a kindergarten grade level. There's 23 of us. So there's 23 kindergarten, 2 ESC kindergarten, 21 regular kindergarten. So we all get in someone's room, not the same person every time. Dr. Rowan and myself, we're not the ones facilitating. We will interject when we need to, but 2 teachers at a time are facilitating it. So they're the teacher leaders. We're building capacity. They're really excited about things. They talk about strategies. Significant sentences are hot at our school. Every single classroom has, they're doing significant sentences, and I think some like to outdo each other they're kind of crazy, but they're fun. Placemats, all those things, all those little strategies they're doing, but we want to take it a step further and do like that example that you showed with Swimmy and Nemo, and tying the best standard to the activities that they're planning. So, and they need to dig for that, because I'm finding, I'm the learning leader, right? So I need to learn these standards, and so we all need to do that as a team. I think that's where we need to grow.
Thank you, Bonnie. I love what she said. It doesn't always have to be the admin or the coach leading those planning sessions or that professional learning. You've all had teachers that have come through the Institute. Use them. That's a great way to build some teacher leaders. All right, let's hear one more idea for building capacity in your school. I'm looking at you, Kelly Williams.
So I have a little bit different role. I work at the district level, and I'm responsible for new teacher induction. And one of the things that we felt really strongly about as a district is that we had made a really significant investment in the number of people that we sent to Summer Literacy Institute, not this past summer, but the summer before. And so we wanted all of our new teachers to always understand what all of these strategies were and how the ELA expectations and the NTRs all are embedded into the work that we're doing K-12. And so that group includes our CTE teachers, it includes everybody who is a brand new teacher to the district. So we are really intentional about the planning that we do with them so that they can see how standards are really the focus and how all of these strategies that they're hearing about in their PLCs play into the work that they do with students. We talked a lot about motivation, because that was one of the topics that kept coming up time and time again in the month before, was the efforts at motivating students. So we used all of these instructional strategies to show how these particular events motivate students to participate in their classes, rather than just sit and get a lecture and work pages. we meet with them one full day. And that has made a big difference. We used to do half days or just after school. They were just wiped out by the time they came. So the full day has helped keep them motivated and engaged with that for sure.
All right. So we want to hear more about those. Rhonda Bourne and I were talking about a way to collect some of these stories and things, so more to come on that. But just a few last minute logistical kinds of things. I believe you have a copy of your plus in your folder. Admin, yours stays the same every time. Keeping on with the literacy cadre meetings, and then your Rural Connect cadre meetings, and also doing those walkthroughs. So we do love seeing those come in. I was reading some from Amy the other day and Stephanie. So we love seeing that data that you're collecting through those walkthroughs. So keep up that great work. Also continuing to look at your action plan and how you want to revise that. You have some things jotted down today through those questions that we just answered. Coaches, we really developed your plus this time around that subgroup report that we looked at this morning. So what are you going to do with that? How are you going to lead PLCs in your school or team meetings to discuss those subgroup reports? And you can write that up and share that process with us. And also using those subgroup reports to plan with teachers, so that instructional planning side. And then any PL that you deliver based on that scale-up plan that we just talked about there. So go ahead and submit those into Moodle. Now, I will say, Lindsay talked about this morning, those subgroup reports are best after PM2. So you may want to wait closer to our session 3 time together to do that, and then do that submission as well. Any questions about the plus?